The night air outside Prague carried a damp chill, the kind that clung to the skin and crawled into bones. Beyond the old cobblestone roads where the city lights gave way to cracked highways, a thunderous chorus of Harley-Davidson engines echoed like rolling storms. Their vibrations shook windows and rattled the neon signs of a notorious biker bar known only by whispers, steel and chrome. The building itself seemed carved from another age, its brickwork weathered by decades of smoke and rain, its wooden beams blackened by thousands of nights of revelry and violence. Neon beer signs flickered in fractured rhythms, casting alternating red and blue shadows across faces hardened by years of rebellion. Jackets made of worn leather bore patches from motorcycle clubs that spanned continents. Each patch a story of loyalty, betrayal, survival. Inside, the air was a living thing, thick with cigarette smoke, heavy with the metallic scent of motor oil, and laced with the kind of tension that accompanied men who had seen too much of the world and wanted to forget. Heavy metal thundered from speakers that had survived at least 3 generations of brawls, their sound cracked but relentless. Glass bottles clinked against scarred wooden counters. Laughter rumbled in tones too rough to be called joyous. This was no place for diplomats or politicians. This was sanctuary for the unwanted, outcasts, soldiers of fortune, men who lived by a code unspoken yet unbreakable. Behind the bar stood Klaus, the keeper of this sanctuary, a man so massive he seemed carved from granite, his arms like tree trunks, his beard graying but thick. He wiped glasses with a precision that seemed mechanical, but his eyes, sharp, restless, always searching, never stopped scanning for trouble. In his kingdom, respect wasn't given. It was fought for, earned with fists, not words. And then the heavy wooden door groaned open. The atmosphere shifted instantly, as if a stone had been dropped into still waters. Into this realm of steel and rebellion stepped a figure who looked as though he had wandered into the wrong play. A simple white button-down shirt, dark slacks, polished shoes more at home in a council hall than on scuffed wood. Ibrahim Traoré, Africa's youngest revolutionary leader, and the man whose presence carried more weight than the silence it created. His security detail, bound by his insistence, remained outside. This was his moment alone, a stolen pause from the suffocating rituals of politics. A delayed flight had gifted him hours unplanned, and curiosity had driven him here, to see authenticity not in gold-lined palaces, but in a working-class cathedral of rebellion. His eyes swept the room like searchlights, cold and calculating, the same way he scanned war rooms in Ouagadougou. Conversations died mid-sentence. Beer mugs stopped halfway to mouths. Scarred faces turned to regard the stranger, trying to decode him. It was a collision of worlds. Africa's lion stepping into Europe's forgotten den of wolves. "Well, well," a gravelly voice cut through the haze, deep and edged with warning. "What do we have here?" Marcus, president of the local biker chapter. His frame was a wall of flesh and steel, tattoos running like maps across scarred skin. His leather vest displayed patches collected across 3 continents: Afghanistan, Berlin, Detroit. Each was a story of war, rebellion, or exile. He rose from his booth, his pale blue eyes narrowing. The bikers shifted in their seats. Instinct told them what always came next: violence or revelation. Marcus had lived both. 3 tours in Afghanistan had taught him the taste of sand and blood. War had scarred his hands, his mind, and his soul. He'd buried brothers under foreign suns, and when the government discarded him like scrap, he found belonging in the roar of engines and the brotherhood of steel horses. Now his eyes locked on Ibrahim. This wasn't a tourist. This wasn't a politician in disguise. Something radiated from him, not threat, but power. The jukebox, by fate or fortune, fell silent. The echo of Ibrahim's footsteps filled the bar as he moved toward the counter, steady, unflinching. It was the same stride with which he had walked into the United Nations, demanding sovereignty for his people. Straight, calm, yet unyielding. Klaus, behind the bar, instinctively reached for a beer, then hesitated. What did this stranger drink? The silence stretched taut as wire. Ibrahim smiled faintly. He had faced coups, foreign sanctions, assassination attempts. Yet here, In this smoky den, he felt something far rarer: authenticity. "You lost, boy?" Marcus's voice carried like a blade dragged across rust. Boots thudded against the wood as bikers circled closer, their presence heavy, their eyes dissecting every inch of Ibrahim's attire. A crisp shirt, a diplomatic watch, the posture of authority. To them, he was everything society had dismissed them for: polished, educated, elevated. But he didn't flinch. "I'm just a traveler," Ibrahim said in calm, accented English, "looking for an honest drink among honest people." The words rippled through the crowd, drawing snorts of derision. "Honest people?" Big Jim, a Vietnam veteran built like a bear, laughed bitterly. "You think we're your entertainment? A show for foreign eyes?" Suspicion thickened. The circle closed. Snake, another veteran, scarred and soured, growled, "We don't serve politicians here." His chain rattled against his vest. Ibrahim's jaw tightened, but his eyes never left theirs. He knew this energy. He had lived it. In barracks, in rebel camps, in city streets drenched with tear gas. Respect was earned in confrontation, not granted with titles. The moment fractured when a voice in the back spat venom. "Send him back where he came from." The words struck harder than fists. Ibrahim had heard them before, from colonizers, from so-called allies, from those who believed Africa had no right to stand tall. Marcus stepped forward, shadow engulfing him. "Maybe it's time you found another bar." The tension thickened, choking the air. Sweat mingled with the smell of oil and leather. Marcus cracked his knuckles. Big Jim shifted his weight. Snake's fingers coiled around his chain. "I didn't come here to fight," Ibrahim said, voice steady as steel. His stance betrayed otherwise. Balanced, ready, a soldier's body remembering battles past. Marcus sneered. "Then you came to the wrong place." His massive hand shot out, grabbing Ibrahim's collar. What happened next was instinct, lightning fast. Ibrahim's body moved before thought. His left hand deflected. His right shot upward in a strike aimed at Marcus's core. But Marcus, battle-hardened, twisted, slamming Ibrahim against the bar. Bottles shattered, glass scattered like diamonds. The crowd roared. The fight had begun. Fists thundered like war drums. Marcus swung heavy. Ibrahim ducked, countering with elbows and precision strikes. The bar erupted into chaos. Cheers, boots pounding, tables overturned. For a moment, time dissolved. Two warriors clashed, neither yielding, both testing. Then it happened. Marcus grabbed Ibrahim's shirt. Cotton tore like gunfire. The white garment shredded, exposing Ibrahim's chest. The bar fell silent. The bikers froze, their hostility replaced by stunned awe. Because etched into Ibrahim's shoulder and chest was not decoration, it was declaration. A tattoo unlike anything they'd seen. Geometric lines, scarification patterns translated into ink. A living story. Resistance, unity. The eternal flame of African struggle. Each mark a vow, each dot a fallen comrade. It was not art, it was history carved into flesh. Marcus stumbled back, holding a torn scrap of fabric, his fury dissolving into something foreign. Respect. Big Jim's beer hung midair. Snake's eyes widened, his cynicism pierced. Even Klaus, stone-faced for decades, trembled. "Jesus Christ," Snake whispered. "That's not just ink." "It's our history," Ibrahim said quietly, tracing the patterns. His voice carried ancestral weight. "These are the marks of the Mossy warriors. Every line a promise, every scar a sacrifice, every dot a soul who fell for freedom." The bikers leaned closer, spellbound. Their tattoos, symbols of clubs, prisons, wars, suddenly felt shallow beside this living monument. Marcus's throat tightened. He saw Afghanistan in those dots. Brothers buried, promises broken. "This," Ibrahim continued, pointing to a rising sun etched over storm clouds, "is hope, that tomorrow's children will inherit dignity, not chains." Silence thickened, sacred. The bar had transformed from battlefield to shrine. Then realization crashed. Klaus's glass slipped, shattering. His eyes widened. "Mother of God, you're Ibrahim Traoré." The name ignited the room. Snake stumbled back. Big Jim straightened unconsciously, a soldier before a commander. Marcus's knees nearly buckled. They had nearly spilled the blood of Africa's youngest revolutionary, the man who expelled colonial powers, who stood before the UN demanding reparations, who faced coups and lived. Marcus dropped the torn shirt, his fists unclenching. "Sir," he said hoarsely, a word he had never given politicians. "I owe you an apology." The atmosphere shifted. Snake removed his cap. Big Jim extended a hand scarred by Vietnam. Klaus emerged with a towel and a leather jacket, offering it like sacred cloth. Ibrahim slipped it on. The diplomat transformed into brother. Big Jim's voice rumbled. "It would be our honor to buy you that drink, Mr. President." And so they did. Glasses filled with amber whiskey clinked like church bells. Stories spilled like confessions. Jim spoke of war, Snake of poverty, Marcus of lost brothers. Ibrahim listened, nodded, and shared his own. Villages starved by corporations. Children walking miles to empty schools. Gold stolen, pride stripped. And yet he spoke not of despair, but of resistance, of reclaiming dignity, of hope. The bikers leaned forward, captivated. Hardened men, softened by truth. By midnight, strangers had become brothers. Numbers were exchanged. Promises made. A torn shirt framed behind the bar became relic, proof that authenticity could bridge worlds. Months later, Marcus told the story at rallies. Snake raised funds for African schools. Big Jim wore an African flag patch beside his Vietnam ribbons. Biker forums shared Ibrahim's speeches. The bar became legend, an embassy of rebellion. Historians would one day call it a turning point. The night a bar of outcasts became a summit of warriors. The night a torn shirt revealed not skin, but a soul carved by duty. And the lesson etched itself into history. When courage meets courage, the world changes.